In today's Leeds news, Naglesmann on Stach's World Cup chances, Farke's red card to be appealed, Marathe steps down from Rangers board over multi-club model, this weekend's Loan Watch, Sunderland preview, and today's Rumour Ill on Sufyan El Karouani. Morning folks, welcome to the Leeds View for Monday the 2nd of March with your Leeds United news. Hope you're all had a really good weekend. We go into a much more important game for Leeds United's hopes of staying in the Premier League tomorrow night against Sunderland. There won't be a watch along on bigup.com. I'm going over to the game, so I won't be able to do the watch along, but there will be some sort of a match review once I get back to the hotel after the game in Leeds. So we'll cover that off. Also, Adidas have launched in partnership with Leeds United a St. Patrick's Day collection with some nice little pieces there. You can check them all out below. There's a link down below in the description if you want to support the channel. You can click on that if you want to. But there's a bit of stuff to get stuck into today. We'll start off with German manager Julian Nagelsmann's comments on Anton Stach's World Cup hopes. Anton Stach is having one of the best seasons of his career so far. We covered this last week, and the natural conversation around his potential getting into the German national side for this summer's World Cup was likely to pop up, and it has. But the German boss, Julian Nagelsmann, not so keen on it, and he's had some comments made on it, and he doesn't appear to be considering Anton Stach for a position in his squad for the summer's World Cup. And some of the comments that he's made don't really add up when you actually look at the data behind it. And speaking to German outlet Kicker, Nagelsmann said the following about Stach. He's doing well there, but he's not exceptionally strong in the air, and he's not a top ball winner either. He's also someone who prefers to have the game in front of him. In my view, his best position at Hoffenheim was when he played the central role in a back three from where he could drop into the number 6 position. So there's a bit to unpack in this situation. The Yorkshire Evening Post have had a look at some of the things that Nagelsmann has said. We've had a look at a couple of other bits as well to see if what he's saying actually does, pun intended, stack up. But the YP's Graham Smith says that Stach's numbers actually stack up pretty favourably when compared to German regular Leon Goretzka, specifically when it comes to his defensive statistics. Stach has more defensive recoveries, he's contested and won more duels, and he also makes more tackles and wins more aerial duels. Add to that, he's also created far more chances. So those numbers straight away go against what Nagelsmann has been saying. We've also had a little look into him playing as a central defender in the middle of a back three for Hoffenheim, and there's room to be wrong on this one, but having a look and checking out some numbers, it doesn't appear that Anton Stach has actually played at the back for Hoffenheim, or at least not enough that his actual position has been labelled as being a player who has played at centre half. In the past 4 years though, Stach, during his time in the Bundesliga, had the most amount of interceptions, the third number of times won possession back, and the fourth for tackles made and duels won. So when you look at all of that and you add to it this season's numbers, where he has won 2/3 of his aerial duels, and it doesn't look like Nagelsmann has really looked that deeply into Anton Stach, the numbers that he's delivered, what he's got versus what Nagelsmann is saying, and the facts don't actually back up Nagelsmann's opinion on this situation. So it doesn't look like Nagelsmann is even considering Anton Stach for the position in the World Cup squad. It looks like he's already possibly made up his mind on this situation, and it's a huge shame for Anton Stach, who's been fantastic for Leeds over the course of this season. Plenty of clubs are going to be having a look at him in the summer, there's no doubt about that, and he'll possibly now miss out on a World Cup for reasons that don't actually sit on any kind of solid foundations from the German manager. Maybe he changes his mind, maybe he rolls back on this, but to say that he doesn't have he's not a strong aerial player when he's won 2/3 of his aerial duels in the Premier League, to say that he's not a good defensive player when you look at his defensive statistics, and one of the reasons Leeds bottom was one of the best defensive stats across European football. So it's an unfortunate one, but let's move on. Let's talk about Daniel Farke and his red card. And Daniel Farke has every right to be very annoyed at the end of the game against Manchester City, and even given what happened on the pitch with some very questionable decisions from referee Peter Banks, it was something far less that managed to get Daniel Farke a straight red card after the final whistle had gone. We've seen Daniel Farke be relatively calm, and he speaks pretty fairly about referees. He's got a side that's got one of the cleanest records over the last 3 years in the EFL and in the Premier League. So it's very out of character to see him like that. And he was well within his rights to be annoyed about what happened during the game. Referee Peter Banks already had the red card out before Daniel Farke even got to him in the game. And even if Farke had gotten in his face and berated him, It was nothing more than Rodri had done consistently throughout the 90 minutes, and he never even picked up a yellow card for it. Farke apparently was sent off for dissent, and the issue was that Peter Banks had booked 2 Manchester City players during injury time, didn't add on that time, and then blew the final whistle during a Leeds United attack when the ball had dropped at Dominic Calvert-Lewin's foot in the penalty area. Now, there's a lot on this. Blowing the whistle bang on 6 minutes after stopping the game during injury time is bad enough, but blowing the whistle also during an attack at that point is unforgivable for me in this situation. Leeds, for their part on this, say that they do plan to appeal and have appealed the red card, and they will ask the FA to review ref cam footage in order to try and get the decision overturned. There were plenty of questionable decisions throughout the game. There was the handball, which, again, depending on how you view it, it's split. You've seen them given, you've seen them not given. The argument is a player isn't looking at the ball, but neither was Brendan Aronson against Newcastle when it hit him. My initial thought was probably not a handball. When you look back on it in slow motion, it's not great. There's that one. But the bigger one for me was the stamp on Ilya Gruev. And the player can make it look as accidental as he wants. The whistle had gone. He had a poke at the ball. And then there's an action backwards to stamp on Ilya Gruev's shin. And the big part of both of these is, considering how involved VAR try and get in football nowadays, neither decision was even reviewed by VAR. No cards were given. No decisions were given in Leeds United's favour. So there's enough there for Daniel Farke to feel aggrieved. But then with the injury time stuff, especially during an attack, that was the final straw, and that's what set Daniel Farke off. If there's any common sense left in football, of which there probably isn't, but if there is, then this red card should be overturned, and Daniel Farke should be allowed back in the bench for the game tomorrow night against Sunderland. The PGMOL, for their side of this, are very, very quiet on the situation. And as of this morning, when I looked at RefWatch, I haven't seen all of it. It wasn't covered in that yet either. So maybe it is being reviewed and they're not allowed to talk about it. But yeah, not a great decision. Not a great day for the referees yesterday. And hopefully, fingers crossed, that red card gets overturned. A crazy decision. To have the red card out before he ever gets to him is a huge problem for me. So yeah, and Daniel Farke, apparently the language he used wasn't anything major, so shouldn't be a problem. So we'll see. But yeah, crazy game. Anyway, let's talk about Marathe. From the manager onto the ownership, and when the 49ers invested in Glasgow Rangers alongside owner Andrew Kavanagh, they said that they believed that the model that was in place was sufficient enough to avoid any type of UEFA multi-club ownership breaches. And it turns out, unfortunately, that the UEFA board disagree with Leeds United on this situation. And over the past few weeks, with meetings had between the Leeds United ownership, Rangers ownership and UEFA, Marathe and Gene Schneier have now stepped down off of the Rangers board as a result. The decision, they say, has been made after discussions were held with UEFA surrounding multi-club ownership rules, and with the deadline for clubs to ensure that they were compliant with these rules passing yesterday on March 1st, a decision needed to be made. The decision for both members is now that they will stay on the Leeds United board but will step down out of their positions on the Rangers board. Marathe was the vice chairman at Glasgow Rangers, but they now say that they should be in a position where both sides are okay should they both end up in European competitions, which obviously they can't play in the same competition if there's a multi-club ownership model in place. And Leeds board now believe that this will safeguard both clubs in the future should they end up in the same competition. So we'll see what happens. But at the moment, they've met with them. They made this decision before the deadline. It's been done. This came out towards the back end of the week. So we'll move on quickly and we'll get into this weekend's loan watch. Start off with Joe Gelhardt. He started and played 76 minutes in Hull's 1-0 away win over Portsmouth. Hull now in 5th place and have a nice little points gap to 7th. Isaac Schmidt was an unused sub for Werder Bremen in their 2-0 home win over Heidenheim. No sign of Max Wober. Largi Ramazani's upturn continues as he started for Valencia in their 1-0 home win over Osasuna. Ramazani scored a 67th minute penalty to give Valencia the win as they move up to 13th place in La Liga. Mateo Joseph started for Mallorca in their 1-0 home loss to Sociedad. Mateo's now playing under new manager after Mallorca sacked their manager last week. They're currently sitting third bottom, 2 points away from safety. Harry Gray started for Rotherham in their 1-0 win over Plymouth, played 90 minutes, and by all accounts, a pretty decent performance by Harry. Rory Mahadi was dropped from the Scunthorpe side to the bench as they drew 3-3 at home to Solihull Moors. Conor Douglas started for Buxton as they beat Merthyr Town 3-1 away from home. Alex Baird and Devin Brockie, no games for them this weekend due to the matches being postponed. And Jack Harrison plays tonight in the league for Fiorentina, but did play and was on the bench in midweek in Fiorentina's loss in the UEFA Conference League, and he came on in the 46th minute. But again, as I say, plays tonight against Udinese. Let's move on and get into today's rumour mill. Not a lot on this one to talk about, but Soufiane El Karouani came up last week, and African Foot at that point said Leeds had some level of interest in him. There was rumours that they were keeping an eye on him. The FC Utrecht left back has got 19 goal contributions in 39 games in all competitions this season, and now they say the Leeds have got concrete interest in the Moroccan international, whatever concrete interest means, versus just being interested. But I suppose we'll wait and find out at the end of the season. But the report says that El Karouani favours a move to England at the end of the season, and he will be a free agent, and he'll make his decision on where he goes come the end of this season. The 25-year-old has got interest from Leeds United and West Ham United, but given that West Ham United's current league position, if they were to go down with significant debt that was revealed this week after their financial reports were put out, 300 million in debt, at that point it would appear that that club won't be an option for Karouani to move to. Leeds want a second left wing back as an option to give a bit more competition to Gabby Goodmunson and to put a bit more pressure on him in the summer. It is one position that they need to add a body to. I think we all wanted to see that added during the January transfer window. He will be a free transfer. He's 25 years of age. It'd be a very good option. Bit of smart business there. But again, it is coming from Africa Foot. They've been right on a couple of things, but not right on quite a lot of things. So it is a rumour. We'll see what happens. We'll keep a track of it, and we'll see at the end of the season when the window opens if they are actually true on it. But it is an interesting one just to keep an eye on. Let's move into some team news for tomorrow night's game against Sunderland. We will have the podcast out tonight to talk about all the weekend's issues, as well as looking ahead to the Sunderland game. Leeds will go into the weekend with one question mark over a player, but another player definitely out. Noah Okafor is still expected to be out of that game and not likely to be back until we play Norwich in the FA Cup. But we are all keeping our fingers crossed that Joe Rodon is okay after he had an issue with his hamstring, and assistant manager Eddie Rumour said that they are waiting on assessments to see if Joe's hamstring is okay. Grabbed it a couple of times towards the end of the game, and after the game, Rumour said there was some issues. But for Sunderland's part in all of this, they've got some issues. The good news for them is they get Granit Xhaka back after the Bournemouth match. No issues with his ankle, and he's expected to be involved in the game. But they are expected to miss quite a few players. They will be without Romain Mundle, Tabby, Brian Broby, and Nordi Mukiela. There's also issues around left backs Dennis Serkin and Reynildo, and both of them are expected to miss the game. And there is a question mark over Ahmed Abdullahi as well. He's a doubt for the game, but could still play at this point. So they're missing quite a few players. Jack is a hugely important player for them, and has the better parts of the season have come when he has been in the side. Only 5 points ahead of Leeds. This is a huge game for Leeds United. Whatever has happened in the last 3 games against Villa, Chelsea and Manchester City, a home match against Sunderland, who've got a really poor away record in the Premier League this season, these are the games that Leeds need to win. It'll be interesting to see if Daniel Farke decides to go with a far more attacking lineup in this game, especially in midfield. Does he try and bring Tanaka in for Gruev, or does he try and do something a little bit different in there? Maybe add another attacking player, drop Stach in a little bit more. It'll be interesting to see, but this will be the one for me. This game and Brentford are 2 games where Leeds could do a huge amount to make themselves safe in the Premier League this season. They won't be easy, they won't be straightforward, but it is an opportunity at home. And given how we've played against the bigger sides, inverted commas, this season, these are opportunities for Leeds United to go and put serious performance in and try and get wins against these sides. We'll see how it goes. We will have a review after the game tomorrow. There's a podcast out tonight because we won't get a chance to do it tomorrow night because the match is on. You can check that out later on. Myself, Paul and Jerry having a chat about the game. Outside of that, have a great rest of your day. Check out the links below for the St. Patrick's Day collection. You can check out OK jerseys down below as well if you want to get some World Cup shirts for a World Cup season. Anyway, mind yourself. Have a great rest of your day. I'll talk to you later. See you. Bye.